Today I thought I'd share with you some of the spring patterns that I've been eyeing about working on or casting on during the next 3 months. So grab a cup of something and let's dive in. Hi friends, welcome back. If you're new here, my name's Melissa. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. So spring is officially here and the weather is warming up outside, and I'm really looking forward to casting on some new projects for spring. I'm still going to be working through some that I have on the needles. I'm going to, as some of you know, I am slowly trying to work through that whip pile. And one of the patterns I'm going to work through is one of the patterns I'm going to share today. So the first pattern I am going to cast on, this is a definite. I would love to have this one done by the end of April for my first show, my first fiber festival, and this one is the Bonfire Tea by Samantha Guerin. If you watched my video, Everything I Knit in 2024, you'll know I'm a huge Samantha Guerin fan. Every spring, she releases a new tea pattern, and I think the one for this year is going to have an all-over cable design. So I'm curious what that's going to look like. But the one that I want to cast on is the Bonfire Tea. And this one came out in June of 2024, and it calls for a fingering weight yarn. It calls for Wool Dreamers Sayana. I'm not familiar with this yarn, but upon further investigation, it's 50% wool, 50% cotton. So I've already selected the yarns that I want to use for mine. I'm going to use my Rising Tide cotton wool. And so I have picked two colors. You'll see that Samantha chose like a taupe and a blue. I'm going to go a little less dramatic on the contrasting colors. And so for me, I'm going to use this pink and orange together. I'm a really big fan of pink and orange. I think it's a lovely combination. However, I don't think it's quite as contrasting as what a lot of people will traditionally choose. I'm going to do the main color of the body in the pink and do the top in the orange. So I did contemplate making the pink closer to my face, but I don't really have a problem wearing this color orange. So I'm going to do the orange as the contrasting and the pink as the main. This one does call for several needle sizes. I've gone through the pattern and I've determined that though it calls for a 2, 3, and 5, the 2 is for all the ribbing. The 3 is going to be what the fingering is knit on, which is going to give us a nice gauge of 24 stitches. And then she does recommend using a US 5 for the colorwork piece at the top. We'll see. That for me, a 5 with fingering is stretching it. So we'll see if I go up quite that much when I do mine. The construction of this is knit seamlessly from the top down. It utilizes German short rows to kind of elevate that neck in the back for that more comfortable fit, so your neckline's not popping up so high in front. It says it's intended to be worn with 2 to 6 inches of positive ease, meaning larger than 2 to 6 inches larger than at your fullest chest measurement. It is size inclusive. It does go from 32 inches to 68 inches. So even if we subtract that maximum ease of 6% from 68, we still have a decent amount of ease with 62. So she's got a lot of different needle sizes in here. It says it uses alternate cable cast on. German short rows, backward loop cast on. I'm assuming that's for underarms, tubular bind off, and of course picking up stitches. So I will say that even if you're not familiar with any or all of those techniques, number one, you're not married to having to do them exactly as they say, meaning if you want to do a different cast on and a different bind off, by all means, there's no one policing your work. But obviously, designers do call for particular cast ons and bind offs to kind of allow you to get the same finish edging that they themselves get. But she is really good about providing links, tutorial links in her patterns, so that if there is a technique that you are unfamiliar with, she does provide a resource so that you can go and learn how to do it. The next pattern that I am interested in working on is the Bolan top. This is by Leila Raven. I believe it was originally a Quince & Co. pattern, and then after she left Quince & Co., she fought pretty hard to get the rights to her patterns that she had written while she was there, and she did get the rights to the Bolan tee. This was originally knit in Quince & Co.'s Sparrow, which is a fingering weight that is 100% linen. Well, it's a cellulose, so it's part linen, part flax. So I actually started this, I believe I taught it as a class in my local yarn shop, and I am using a 50% silk, 50% wool combination, hence why it has so much sheen. This is my Rising Tide Hartford fingering. And I did start it, and I've got one of my pieces done. You actually knit 4 of these, and then there's some seaming involved. So you can see it's going to grow quite a bit, but it has this beautiful, delicate lace pattern that goes all the way across the top, and you do knit it sideways. So this, because it's a whip, it's been lingering, and I am really looking forward to finishing it. Let's see, do I have notes on when I started this and taught this class in basically the end of summer in 2023. So it's been on the needles for a few years. I'd really love to get it off the needles and be able to wear it this summer. Again, it's a fingering weight top, and it's knit on a US 4, and it's 20 stitches per row by 29 stitches 29 rows. So 20 stitches across, 29 rows down. Obviously, your row gauge does kind of come into play. I know a lot of us typically focus on stitch gauge going from left to right, and we don't pay too much mind to our row gauge up and down. But because you are knitting this sideways, essentially, your row gauge is a little bit more important than normal, I would think. So again, this piece is knitted sideways in the 4 pieces, and you have 2 panels for the front, 2 panels for the back. You're actually working from the center out to the arm. It does have that really pretty lace texture going across the top. I know of one person that made this quite a few years ago. She wears it every spring and summer. It is absolutely gorgeous. She chose a color that was really complementary to her coloring. So I really want to get this off the needles. I really want to wear this. So I'm really looking forward to this one. The other tee that I have my eye on that I really want to cast on is the Magna Flora. This is by Aliza Hartzel. And this is a tee pattern that she published in August of 2022, and she used Sanduskarn Lean. Now, I will say, The gauge, because it's worsted weight, is 14 stitches in 4 inches by 22 rows. And that's because it's on bigger needles. This is knit US 9 and 7. I'm assuming that the 9 is for the body and the 7 is for ribbings on the hems and the cuffs. And originally I didn't want to do it in the lean, but I couldn't really find something that I was really interested in. I know a lot of people have made it in the Juniper Moon Cumulus, which is a really soft cotton. And I have made one of her other summer tops out of that, and I get a ton of wear out of it. However, because it's 100% cotton, I just know during the end of August, beginning of September, when it just feels sweltering here where I live, the 100% cotton just feels sticky and clingy. And for me, I really prefer something that's got an animal fiber to wick sweat, but then also has that plant fiber to keep me cool. So I did do some diving in my stash, and I did remember that I had some of the Sandus Garn lean in my stash. I actually, this is color 4335. It's like a raspberry color. I have eight of these, I believe. So I have, they're 110 meters. So I have over 900 yards. And for my size, or for any size, it doesn't call for more than 800 yards. So even if I lengthen this, I shouldn't have any problems. So I'm going to go ahead and knit it in the lean. I need to do a gauge swatch because I'm not sure if I can get 14 inches on a 9. We'll see. I might have to go down a needle size, but this is what I'm leaning towards. So if you're not familiar with this yarn, it is 53% cotton, 33% viscose, and 14% linen. This is all plant fiber, so it doesn't have that sweat wicking like an animal fiber like wool or alpaca would have, but I do have an anchor tee knit in this, and I do really love it. I think as long as I knit up a size that's fairly drapey, then I won't have that sticky feeling that I don't like. And I do really like the tee that I already have knit in this. For sizing, it says to choose a size with 3 to 5 inches of positive ease. And for her bust measurements, it only goes from a 38 to a 66. So if we subtract the 5 inches of positive ease from 66, that gets us to 61, which isn't bad, but I think at a minimum we like to see 64 to consider it size inclusive, but I still think it's fairly decent in the size inclusive arena. And so I am really itching to cast this on, but considering this isn't my yarn, this will probably get pushed to the back burner. We'll see. I really would like to cast on the Bonfire tee and get that going, because by knitting that one does create a little bit of a deadline for me. The next tee that I have had my eye on for quite some time, I think since it came out, is the Nomad tee by Rachel Illsley. And I just really love the look of this tee. It came out in July of 2020, so we were right smack dab in the middle of a pandemic. This, again, is another fingering the weight tee. She has quite a few suggested yarns. Pixie yarn, twisty sock fingering, positive ease, pure merino, Kokon yarn, blue fingering, and Hypothesis yarns, smooth sock. I've not heard of any of those, but I'm wondering if she is maybe in the UK. I'm not sure where she lives, but oh yeah, it's £6, so it's about $8.13 to buy the pattern on Ravelry. So that might be why I've never heard of those yarns. So again, it's fingering weight. It calls for 26 stitches by 36 rows. She's got a couple different samples in her pictures. She has one that is light blue and dark blue, or a kind of a blue leaning gray and blue. But she has one that is gold, white, and navy. And I really love the look of that one. I think this colorwork piece running down the middle, it also goes completely down the back as well. You have the option to do it with basically very minimal sleeves, or you can actually put a sleeve on it. I think I like the sleeve version best, but ultimately I really love the look of this tee. It's just a matter of, one, figuring out what colors I'm leaning towards, because I don't have anything picked out for this. This is again another tee that's knit sideways, so it allows you to do that stranded color work vertically. Again, there's 2 sleeve options in the design. This sizing wise has, let's see, it says extra small to 5X. 1, 2. So there's 9 sizes. It calls for how much ease? 4 to 12 inches of ease. And she goes from 40 to 66 inches in finished garment. So I can't tell if she's already, without buying the pattern, if she's already included her ease into those final finished measurements. I'm not sure. I think because it's knit sideways, there's a little bit more to this. She has updated the pattern as of March 2022. But it is meant to be a loose, drapey fit in order to keep you cooler and more airy. It does look like all of her yarns that she's recommended are wool and nylon blends. So because of the color work, I would probably lean towards doing something similar, using a wool nylon blend versus something that's plant fiber based. But I'm still kind of questioning. Again, I've not picked anything for this, but I do really love the eye-catching allure of the color work in this one. I do love to go around and around and around and not engage with my knitting. I think for this one, since it's knit sideways, depending upon how it's knit, I'm only going to have to do color work a few times. So we'll see. The next spring pattern that I've really been eyeing came out in August 2024. And this one is by Sari Nordland. It's called the Rainy Day Tee. And for me, I knit the Gibb sweater by Andrea Mowry, which had cable raglans, but then it had this texture throughout the whole thing. And I love the look of those cable raglans. I mean, I love the Gibb sweater that I knit. I don't like the yarn that I used, but I love the sweater itself. And I thought, oh, I'd love to knit another one, but I don't want to do all the texture. And I thought, oh, well, I could just knit it, but not do the texture. And then I just kind of went diving through my t-shirt bundle on Ravelry in my favorites, and I saw this one and realized, oh, hey, I don't need to knit the Gibb without the texture. Sari's already done it, essentially, except this one, it looks like it has a rolled collar, not a rolled hook, but a folded over collar, and it's already short sleeves. Now, for this one, she used a silk Samelin Dyeworks silky singles, which is 70% wool and 30% silk, and then she paired it with a mohair. So she used a lace weight plus a fingering weight, and she called it DK. I think for me, I'm just going to go straight to DK. I don't think I'm interested in carrying along a lace weight strand of something. I realize that does make the fabric behave a little bit differently depending upon what I choose. I would be tempted to try this in a 50% wool, 50% cotton, and see if so the same weight as the Bonfire, but instead of fingering, use DK weight, and see if I could get those cables to look just as lovely. Probably, because with 50% wool, they should still stand out and pop. This one, again, DK weight gauge with 20 stitches by 22 rows in 4 inches. Looks like she's knitting it on a size 4. And again, that could be because she's using a lace and a fingering to get that DK weight. I might have to size up a needle to get that gauge with a DK weight yarn, but I'd have to swatch and see. This one is $5.90 in euros, so that's, according to Ravelry, about $6.73. It is knit seamlessly from the top down, starting at the neckline. You have really simple cables at your raglans, which I love that look. The cable pattern's easy to memorize, according to her, and would be suitable for knitters who are just learning to knit cables. The sleeves and body, of course, are separated at the underarms and knit separately. And then you actually go back and knit the neckband. You're going to pick it up from the body and knit it in the round. This one has finished bust measurements from 33.5 inches to 65 inches. And then she does not give us any indication of how much ease to wear. So with a traditional raglan, it's what we buy in the stores. We usually are most comfortable with 2 to 4 inches of ease. So definitely a size inclusive pattern. Here, pick a size 4 inches of intended positive ease. So pretty standard. And of course, all the yardage requirements are listed as if you are using fingering weight yarn. But of course, if you or myself choose a DK weight, then we only need that amount. We don't need the additional yardage for the lace weight. So I don't know. I don't know if I can get to this. I think this is one of those sweaters that I think would be maybe not for summertime, but I think it's one of these sweaters that, because it's short sleeve, would be a really nice piece for transitional weather. So, as we're transitioning out of summer and into fall, out of winter into spring. I know here in the Mid-Atlantic region of the United States, those 2 time frames, the weather's always really kind of dicey. It starts out usually a little bit chillier in the morning and at the end of the day, but during the day, it's rather warm. So this is definitely one I have my eye on that I'd really love to knit this spring. The next pattern, or the last pattern that I'm thinking of casting on for spring, is the Rolled Edge Tank by Jessie Maed Designs. This one came out in May of 2024. And this is, again, another fingering weight. There's obviously a big theme in my spring cast on desires. And this one, she used the Farmer's Daughter Fiber Confluence Cotton, which, if you're not familiar with that, it is a little bit kind of misleading because it is 40% Targhee wool and 40% Rambouillet wool and 20% cotton. So it is mostly wool with a touch of cotton. But again, I love a wool cotton blend. Wool is perfect for wicking sweat, and then the cotton portion keeps you cool. So even 80% wool, there's enough cotton there to keep you cool, but 80% wool will allow it to have kind of that bounce and structure that we all kind of lean towards in our pieces. Again, fingering weight yarn, but 22 stitches across, 30 rows down, and 4 inches. If you're at all familiar with Jessie Mae Designs, her patterns are always size inclusive. She goes from an extra small all the way up to a 5X, but that really is 28 inches up to 60 inches. This, as you can see, is a really basic summer tank. It has a fitted yoke, full-length body. She does give you the option to put bust darts in it. It has rolled edges on its arms, its neckline, and it has a split hem that's kind of curved. So I think that's a really lovely detail. This top, she says, is designed to be worn with 0 to 2 inches of ease at your full chest. So it is meant to be a closer fitting garment. She doesn't think, due to the uniqueness of the yarn that she used, she didn't think that she could find a comparable wool cotton blend alternative. But she feels like you can achieve that gauge with a variety of bases, whether they be animal fibers, plant fibers, and obviously fingering or sport weights and adjusting needle size. As long as you get gauge, you should be fine. But depending upon what you decide to use, you may have to play around with your swatching. I just feel like this is a really lovely look, though it is a little bit shorter on Park Williams, who's modeling it. I would probably lengthen it a little bit longer. This is one of those patterns that I think is kind of not really flying under the radar, but I don't think it's getting as much love as some of her other patterns. So I think this could be a really versatile piece, particularly for those people that are still going into the workplace, or if you really like to go out. I think because of the tank nature, there's some versatility in wearing it alone, but then even during cooler months, you could be throwing this under a jean jacket, a blazer. You could definitely use it as a layering piece. So I really love this one as well. So that concludes everything that I'm thinking of working on this spring from a garment perspective. Did I miss something? Is there something else that you found that you think that I would really love? I'm really big into wearing knitted tees during the spring and the summer. So if that's the case and you think there's another pattern out there that I would really love, please feel free to share it down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. And until next time, happy knitting, and I'll see you next week.
Always think of you when spring comes, like it's something in the air at that time. Don't know why. Always dream of you when spring comes. It's like the heat